Good evening and welcome to Sunday evening Satsang. Although it's not quite evening where we are, we're having to do this an hour earlier today because our electricity supply company, Eskom, has decided to go back to load shedding.
Yeah.
So we don't have power from 6 o'clock until 8:30, so we decided we'd move it forward an hour. It seems, we've been on lockdown for many months now, but the guy who switches the electricity off has obviously come back from his extended lockdown holiday, and he's back and he's working it very well now in the last few days. So welcome everyone. Hopefully you got our message that we are live a little bit earlier this evening. And this evening we're going to be looking at the chaos around us, and we're going to be finding ways to center ourselves in that chaos, and we're going to be looking at the gift that chaos has to offer us, and it does have a gift for us.
Absolutely, and I see some of you are joining us, so thanks for those of you who can join us early. And yeah, it's an opportune time to speak about chaos because we're all kind of in it right now. It's the unknown, really.
Yeah.
It's the feeling of not knowing what's going to happen next.
And I think an awful lot of people have expected this. We were told we're going to shut down for a couple of weeks, and 4 months later, we're still in a case of total uncertainty. And I see our president has just backpedaled. They were going to open the hotels, and then a few hours later, he backpedaled on that one. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the world. I mean, the leisure industry, particularly in Cape Town, where we are, employs a huge percentage of our population. And so you don't know, are you going to go back to work or aren't you going to go back to work? Do you have a hotel or don't you have a hotel? Do you have a B&B or don't you have a B&B?
Yeah.
And restaurants. So there is a huge amount of uncertainty that's playing out in our lives. And I mean, Michelle indicated that at the beginning of the year that this was going to be a year of tremendous change from an astrological point of view. So we're right in the middle of it, and I think there are some tools that we can use to navigate this and to reach into that chaos and receive the gift from the chaos. So that's what we're going to be looking at tonight.
Yeah, to even find some meaning in it, because I think when we find meaning in something, it's much easier to accept it.
It is.
Yeah.
It's when we can't find meaning in our lives that lives become very, very stressful.
Yeah, we feel like we're victims of it, and we start to resist it.
Yeah.
And then we go further into suffering. So we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. So let's do what we always do, and that's just start the evening by withdrawing our mind from all other times and all other places and becoming centered into just this moment, which is actually the only moment that there is. It's the only way you can connect directly with life. It's the only way you can connect directly with who and what you really are, which is being. Only through the present moment that you can connect directly to being. And through being we find wonderful gifts like love and bliss and joy. And let's just do that. So gently maybe shut your eyes, settle into the chair that you're sitting on or lying on your bed or wherever you are. Just see that you've got some cushions supporting you, and that you are able to completely switch off your mind from all other times, all other places, and just be here now. Occupy your body fully. Become aware of your feet. Become aware of your hands. Become aware of your torso. And right now in this moment, become aware of the temperature of the room on your cheeks. Become aware of what it feels like to be centered in this place, in this time, right now. We bring our awareness to the breath. We bring our awareness to the most sacred part of being human, which is the breath of life. And we become aware of the in-breath, the slight pause, and the relaxing, releasing out-breath. So with our eyes closed, we take a deep breath in, right down to our belly button, blowing our tummy up like a big ball, and then releasing it. And as we do, we let any stress go from our shoulders or our neck. We'll just relax. We take another deep breath in, right down to our belly, pushing our belly button right the way out, down to our toes, And then this long, long, long relaxing, releasing out breath as we let go of what no longer serves us. And now we take a third deep breath in. Again, pulling our diaphragm down, pulling the air right the way into our lungs, filling our whole lungs up, taking it up into our shoulders, up into our head, filling our whole body like we're going to burst like a big, big ball. And then a long, beautiful, relaxing, releasing out breath. Just let it go. And now allow life to breathe you gently. And just become aware of how life does this so wonderfully. With no doing on your part, it breathes you in and then releases the breath. And with it go all the toxins that have done their work in your body, and you just release that. And on the in-breath, we take for granted that there's going to be enough oxygen. And on the out-breath, we take advantage of the fact that we're just releasing all that no longer serves us. We let it go. And so there's this beautiful rhythm, the flow of life, the in-breath and the releasing out-breath. And become aware of everything you can hear in this moment. With your eyelids gently closed, become aware of the furthest, faintest sound that you can hear right now. Not needing to label or to judge. Just become the awareness that listens. And as you do that, become aware of the stillness that develops inside your awareness. In order to listen to faint sounds, you have to become absolutely still. And if you practice this technique in your relationships, I promise you relationships will improve dramatically, because what we lack in most communications with particularly those close to us is not enough silence, not enough stillness, not enough space, too much talking and not enough listening. So in this moment we go into that beautiful receptive mode of just quiet, perceptual listening. And we find that stillness within us that listens. And we note that as we sit here quietly, allowing life to breathe us, settle comfortably onto our chair or bed, that there is a sense of sacred stillness that arises within us, a quietness, a relaxed state. And this is our being. Our being is the space between our thoughts. Our being is the space between our doingnesses. And this being is complete and whole and perfect, and needs nothing in the future to make it complete. And there is nothing in the past that robs it of its direct connection to life in this moment. So now take a deep breath in again. Deep, deep, deep breath. Blowing your tummy up like a big ball. And then releasing it, bringing your belly button back to touch your spine. Letting go, relaxing your shoulders, your neck once more. And gently, when you're ready, open your eyes. And just see how you feel in this moment. How do you feel? A bit more at peace? A bit more centered? Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah.
Thanks, John. So here we are.
Thank you all for joining us tonight.
Sunday afternoon. So chaos cycles.
Yeah, I want to start with a little analogy here in the value of chaos. So let's take a very simple example, like we want to make a cake. And we have to get the ingredients. So there's maybe a wheat field growing, wheat, and we have to take the wheat, we have to mill it, we have to crush it, and we have to transform that kernel of wheat to make it into flour. We have to find a chicken, we have to get an egg from a chicken. We have to break the egg, and we have to add that in. We've got maybe to go and get some cane and harvest it, and then distill and crystallize the sugar from that and add that to the cake. And there are a lot of ingredients that have to be transformed from their natural state into a state that we can put them into the baking bowl. And then we add a bit of water and we stir. We create even more chaos. Not only have we broken the egg, but now we mix it and churn it up and add a whole lot of strange ingredients to that egg which weren't there before. And once we've finished mixing it and churning it, we then put it into a different place, which is a baking bowl, and put it in a burning hot oven. Poor old egg, poor old flour and sugar and all the other ingredients.
Yeah, they've changed forever.
And it goes through a process of metamorphosis. And then sometime later we take out this beautiful cake, which is completely different. There isn't an egg there. There's not a kernel of wheat there anymore. There's not a grain of sugar anymore. There's no even cacao, nib, whatever you call it. It's all gone. And now we have a beautiful, maybe a chocolate cake, which is completely different to the original state of those ingredients. And it had to go through that process of complete chaos, complete breakdown, complete loss of identity in order for something new to emerge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really lovely analogy, that. And then there's obviously the one that a lot of us know, which is, I often refer to it in Pluto cycles, which I'll chat a little bit about, because those are usually chaos cycles. And it's the, sorry, I'm speaking softly because I've got a sore throat. It's the breakdown, it's the metamorphosis cycle. So you've got the caterpillar that wanders around munching leaves, and he's a happy little fella, and he's just munching leaves to make him a fatter, happier caterpillar. And the next thing he knows, he hangs upside down generally, so he changes his perspective, spins a cocoon, and then the caterpillar starts to dissolve and disintegrate. And a lot of people don't know that actually it's not the caterpillar that sprouts wings. The caterpillar disappears completely, and very much like the cake and the wheat and the sugar and everything, he dissolves into caterpillar gunk, for want of a better description, and out of that caterpillar gunk comes the butterfly, but only when it's ready. So you can't force the butterfly out of the cocoon. If you open the cocoon beforehand, butterfly will never, probably not survive, and will definitely not fly. So there's a struggle that's required even for that process, for the butterfly to emerge from the cocoon. But it's a complete disintegration of the old to actually come with something new. And that is the process of chaos. But we as human beings resist chaos, because it feels chaotic. It feels like we have no control. It feels like we're losing our identity. We're losing our control. But we didn't ever have control in the first place. We just had anxiety. We didn't have control. We had a lot of anxiety. But when we try to control things, we think it's chaotic and we're losing control, but we didn't have it in the first place.
It was an illusion. That we ever were in control of the universe is a complete illusion. Often, I've got a very strong-willed granddaughter. She's 5 now, and I always say, she likes to control everything. And I always say to her, who made you boss of the universe?
She loves it.
Because she really does think she's boss of the universe. And a lot of us are control freaks, and we really do believe that in order to survive, we have to control.
Yeah.
And sometimes it seems to work out okay, but a lot of the time it doesn't. And I believe that this year is one of those times where we have to let go and we have to trust. Even, if you look out at the night sky, it does seem a bit random, the placement of the points of light in the sky. And it's only with enough perspective, if you go to the planetarium, that you can look back and say, wow, we're in the Milky Way. Look how magnificently positioned the Milky Way is. And then you look at other galaxies and you see, wow, they're all positioned in their right place. And they have these spirals that are all so perfectly positioned, and every single star is correctly positioned in those galaxies to make up that overall body of a galaxy. We can't see it from our level of magnification. Only when you stand right the way back can you start to see the perfection in our solar system and the galaxy. And in fact, the very word cosmos means order. Now, where does the cosmos stop? Does it stop with the ionosphere of the Earth? Or does that order permeate down to the molecular level on Earth?
And beyond.
Into the subatomic particle level of the Earth? Now, Einstein, when they started looking at the subatomic particles and going into quantum physics, they found amazing order that was permeating even the quanta, even those little tiny packets of energy. They fitted into a greater order. So the word cosmos, order, is all-encompassing. It encompasses the grains of sand on a beach, and it encompasses you and your life. The molecules in your body, the relationships you have, the careers you have, are all unfolding according to a much higher level of intelligence. And I think this year is a great opportunity for taking our hands off this little pseudo-plastic steering wheel that we think we're in control, taking our hands off and stepping back into the trust of this order that orchestrated your body right in the very beginning. It took two cells, merged them, and then 9 months later this baby, this perfect, beautiful, wonderful baby emerged with billions of cells, and each one of them ordered and it correctly in the right space. You didn't have a fingernail stuck to your nose. It was on the end of your finger, hopefully. And there was magnificent order in that baby. And that order didn't come from genetics, because the genes don't do that. There had to be another level of intelligence orchestrating the expression of those genes. And that is this intelligence that we can give many names to, but then I think the name that is one of the most neutral names to give it to it is life. Life, the intelligence of life itself. And that intelligence of life is always contained within the disorder, within the chaos. There is a higher order of intelligence that is mixing that cake because it knows that it needs to produce something new. Inside that caterpillar's body, as it transforms into a butterfly, there is an order going through each process. We know that in a caterpillar, for example, when it goes down to that caterpillar gunk that Michelle mentioned, the genetic structure of that caterpillar completely breaks down, and a new genetic structure emerges. And that intelligence of life is in control of every single moment of that butterfly's journey. And the interesting part, just from this analogy, is that as it struggles out of the cocoon, it's huge. To struggle out of the cocoon is massive. But it forces the blood to the extremities of the wings. And if that struggle didn't take place, there wouldn't be blood in the wings, and that butterfly would never fly. So if we are going through a process this year of struggle, and that struggle is creating some sort of resilience, some gift within us that will serve us very well in the time to come. And maybe this year is also the year of letting go of all that no longer serves us. So it's an ideal opportunity to clean out your cupboards, and to clean out your relationships, and to clean out your careers, and clean out your mind and your belief patterns, and look at what's the structures around you that you really want to support in a new world.
And which ones aren't working, because I've said it before, so for those of you who have listened before to us, this is a big year. If you have ever looked at astrology at all, if you've had your birth chart done, definitely, but if you've just even looked at it lightly, you'll know that there is a divine order, because what John was saying there about this life that helps to form our bodies and our fingernails and make the planets revolve around at the right speed so they don't knock into each other, and we can get a full moon and a new moon and all the phases of the moon every month because of the position of the planets exactly, so that the sun covers the, it covers the casts a shadow that's exactly that size. It's perfection in motion. So when we realize that there's perfection in motion there, and we realize that we have come in not only with our parents, but at the exact moment of time that our soul chose to incarnate, that there is something much bigger. It's a soul agreement that we've made to come in at this exact time. So to be born at that exact time, to have that chart at that exact time. If you'd been born 2 hours later or 1 hour earlier, you would have a different chart. And I've done thousands of charts in my life, and it is remarkable how that 1 hour can make an enormous difference as to how you express your energy, how you interact with the world.
Yeah, with twins.
So with twins, they're born slightly different. 10 minutes later, there's a difference generally in the chart. So, so we've got to see the perfection in that, and that our souls chose not only the moment that we came in, but this moment too. Because otherwise we wouldn't be here. So if we chose this moment, and we can accept that this is a moment, it's a chaos cycle. The globe is in a chaos cycle. So if we can accept that the planet is in a chaos cycle, and we chose to be here during this particular chaos cycle, then there's a level of acceptance as opposed to resistance. There's a level of owning it and seeing it as an opportunity cycle, because chaos cycles are always opportunities. So in charts, when I do transits and stuff, we look at a number of things, but we very often look at Pluto, which is the planet of transformation. So whenever Pluto is interacting with something in our personal charts, or if different planets are interacting together globally, and Pluto is involved, that's generally a chaos cycle. Now, a chaos cycle is not a bad day. It's a cycle. And astrology is based on cycles. Our lives are based on cycles. We evolve our potential and our power through cycles of time. That's how we evolve. So when you look at, for example, Pluto, and we were looking at this last year, when all the astrologers were saying, oh, there's big change coming. We were looking at Pluto, Saturn, and then Jupiter, which basically come together. Now, Pluto is the agent of transformation, so death, rebirth, regeneration. So when that's involved, there's a death, rebirth, and regeneration potentiality in that cycle. When you add Saturn to the mix, Saturn is about structures. So it's the death of structures that don't work. And so the old stuff that doesn't work, the old way of doing things, those old patterns, the old conditioning, the way we've been doing things for a long time on this planet doesn't work. And it's like this, that life, the intelligence of life, has presented us with this as one of the options to transform and transmute. So it's global at the moment, and then obviously it's individual as well. So we've got our individual processes, so what needs to die within me so that something new can be reborn? What is redundant? What has done its time? What pattern of behavior that I've always used and always trotted out does not serve me? And can I change it? If I'm a victim, is that serving me? Can I shift that into another level, a dimension of consciousness? Because this is a transition from one layer of consciousness or one dimension of consciousness into another higher dimension of consciousness. But in order to do that, like the butterfly and the caterpillar, there's got to be a dying off of anything that's blocking that's holding us back. So it's huge. And I mean, a chaos cycle will always expose the underbelly. So Pluto, that's what Pluto's very good at doing as well, is it digs down and exposes the dysfunctions within us and within our society, on our planet. It exposes those dysfunctions. It lays them out for us to see. It brings up all the yucky stuff so that we can see that, oh, hang on, this isn't very pretty. And now it's up, it's in the light of consciousness, so we can actually do something about it. When it's underneath the surface, in the unconscious, we're unconscious of it. And now what's happening is it's coming up. And it feels chaotic, because it feels like we don't have control. And then there's usually a resistance to that. And the resistance to it is what causes the suffering. Because we're saying this shouldn't be happening, shouldn't have happened, what's going to happen in the future, how are we going to live, why is it happening? And the more we do that, the more we're in suffering.
Yeah. And part of the suffering in a lot of people is there's an underlying hum that sits in the back of people's lives, and it's actually the fear of death, the fear of dying, the fear of dissolution. You know, is my relationship going to dissolve? My company, my business? Am I going to dissolve? Is my body going to go? And, you know, if that poor old caterpillar was human, it would go through immense psychological trauma when it crawled into the cocoon. Yeah.
There goes a leg, there goes another 50 legs.
50 legs all gone, and really taking strain here. And can you imagine segments. Also if trees were human? You know, can you imagine you come to the cycle of autumn when the leaves drop off? I mean, the tree would go through immense trauma. It would go to, you know, have to go in for counselling.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
all my leaves are gone.
Yeah, my leaves are going. The tree next to me is still full of leaves, and why am I dropping mine? You know?
I'm a less better tree than the one next door.
Correct. What did I do? It's my parents' fault. It's and my other oak tree.
His leaves are orange, and mine aren't even green. Mine is still green, or you know.
Yeah. If only I had a better acorn, then I wouldn't be going through this today. You know, and all these stories.
They lose a branch?
Correct.
And they lose huge
but
branches.
They don't. Nature does not suffer. Why does nature not suffer? Because it's in alignment with life. It doesn't have a mind that resists. Yeah. The gift of thinking mind is it's judgmental. That's what the mind does. It does fantastically well at judging things hot, cold, up, down, left, right, I want, I don't want. But it actually is designed to be our servant. We're meant to use it to make those judgment calls. But the problem is that most of us don't have a mind anymore. The mind has us. And if the mind owns you, there's chaos in your life, there's trauma in your life, there's suffering in your life, because the mind makes a wonderful servant, but it makes a tyrannical master. And so this cycle this year, this cycle of chaos that we're going through, and I don't say it's just this year, it's probably a lot longer than that,
this year.
Is the opportunity to let go of our attachment to the mind and the mind's need for security in time. You know, the mind operates on that horizontal plane of time, going from past to future, and it loves predictability. It also gets bored with predictability.
Yeah.
That's why relationships break down. It wants drama, you know. But it has this love-hate relationship with predictability. But the mind generally looks to security for its fulfillment, and security comes from predictability. And what we're going through now is not really predictable from an outcome point of view. And so I think there's huge opportunity in the chaos that we're going through now to stand back, to take our hands off this pseudo-plastic steering wheel that we have and trust the cosmos, that there is, in fact, an intelligence that's guiding you, your life, and your family's experiences and the world's experiences. There is a higher intelligence orchestrating that. When a new star is birthed in the center of maybe a black hole, or I don't know where they come from, but anyway, that is part of a cosmic plan, because that birth of that new star will have immense repercussions in times to come. The same way when a baby is born, it's not a random event. That event will have major ramifications, not only for the parents, but everyone that baby will then interact with in its entire life. There's a fabric, there's an incredible interweaving of experience at the level of form. And that is not without plan. It appears chaotic depending on our level of magnification. But when you either increase your level of magnification or move out from it, suddenly there's another order. Then there's disorder. Then there's order again. And then chaos. And we go through those levels, and it's a matter of focus, where we're prepared to focus our attention and our awareness. Now, going back to that underlying fear of death, I believe that every single star in the cosmos is exactly where it's meant to be. The moon isn't a happenstance. Not just happens to be a certain distance from the sun. Its shadow doesn't happen to just coincide with the diameter of the earth. The sun isn't just a happenstance in its distance from the earth, and nor is Mars and Pluto and Neptune. They're all perfect. You were not born on the day you were born on as a happenstance. You are perfectly positioned to have the experiences that you need to have experienced and unfold for you in this lifetime. And so it is with your departure date from this particular realm. Your date of departure is perfectly orchestrated to be part of this cosmic scheme. You have to leave on a certain date so that X, Y, Z can happen. If any of you have like I have, my partner passed away 3 years ago, but that needs to happen at that time so that I could then meet up with Michelle and we could do the work that we're doing today. How perfect is that? And you will find, and my late partner's husband had to pass away 3 or 4 years before I came on the scene. Otherwise, I couldn't have got involved with her and had those unique experiences that I had with her. And you look at this incredible play and the perfection of life. Birth and death are part of the same dance. It's like two sides of a coin. You can't have a one-sided coin. You can't have birth without death. And yet the mind, the ego, fears death. It celebrates birth, but fears death. And I say, well, let's do it rather the other way around. Let's mourn. When a poor baby's born into this world, I think we should, all wear black and mourn, because that's a hard situation to come into this world. And when we leave, we should have a party. Because I think that is to be celebrated. We've graduated. Dimension. How about that? We've graduated. Yeah. We're moving to a much higher realm. I mean, there are many cases of near-death experiences. I've had one myself. And when you touch the realm beyond this earth, it is so much more magnificent than the earth. Death is not something to be feared. Do not fear the dissolution. The dissolution is part of the cycle of experience that we have as human beings. And if you can let go of the fear of death, you can handle chaos and uncertainty far, far better. Far better.
The thing is, if you know who you really are, then you're not going to fear death. Because who you really are never dies.
How can it?
The body does. The body changes and dies. Well, I mean, it ages, first of all, changes.
Well,
the
body dies.
You've got a different body now than you had 10 days ago and 10 years ago and 40 years ago. So your body changes every 5 minutes, every 5 seconds. But the spirit that animates you never goes anywhere. So the body goes, yes. And, you move on.
Yeah.
But we're so scared of it because we identify ourselves as this body and this name, Michelle, this person, these abilities, these personality traits, identify this as me. We're working with this in our course at the moment, and it's fascinating. Is this me? Who am I? So when we say, look at who you are, we're looking at much deeper than who's this person staring at you in the mirror. That's the outer shell. It's like John often says, you get into a car, but you don't think that you are the car.
Well, unless you're a BMW driver.
You drive the car.
Sorry, I'm just jealous of BMWs.
You drive the car and then you get out the car at the end of your trip. You don't for a minute think that you are the car.
It's completely insane if you do that. If you believe you are your car, it's madness. And if you believe you are your body and your personality and your achievements and your goals, you're mad. It's madness.
And it's madness that permeates every section of our society and most of the population.
Yeah, madness
because
is
we
normal.
Believe, yeah, it's a normal state of being. We actually believe that we are this, and therefore we fear when this disappears. And there's nothing to fear on that level because you never disappear. The animating presence of who you are. And if you ever read any of the books, as John said, on near-death experiences, and there's lots now.
But written by medical doctors.
They will all say the same thing, every single one of them. And most of them, Anita Murjani, her book is incredible, where the woman who had terminal cancer, her organs were shutting down. Read the book, it's Dying to Be Me.
Yeah.
And she describes it, and she says her biggest message is there's nothing to fear. Like we fear too much on this planet. We stress too much about what we're achieving and when we're achieving it and how we're doing it and how we're going to die. She says now she finds it very hard to worry because she knows that there's this perfection, absolute perfection, and absolute love was the other thing she came back. She says there's love, there's perfection. So I think it really does, handling chaos cycles like this, it helps to deactivate programs that run in our lives, thought patterns, belief systems that run, so that we can actually deactivate them, so that we can actually step into the potential of this life, whatever that means. And it's a short journey, this particular incarnation, as Michelle and John and all of you. It's a short journey, very short. But when we actually see who we really are, then we can actually embrace it completely for what it is, and not resist and worry and spend our lives terrified of the day that we finally leave the body. Because, so when you know who you are, I don't think there's that fear.
I think you should actually tell your family and friends right now, the day you leave is the day they have a party, a big party to celebrate and not wear black and mourn and cry.
Absolutely.
That's really, that actually holds the soul on. Grieving pulls, it's a very heavy energy. If you look at David Hawkins' map of consciousness, grief is a very low, it's a very dense energy. Joy, on the other hand, is something very, very different. It's elevating. And what helps the soul when it passes over, if you send them joy and love and light for their journey. So that's something to remember. If any of you are doing, there's something called soul midwifery, which I think is a fantastic career, when you actually guide people through the last few days of their life, and you open the gate for them to go on to higher realms. Just remember that grieving is a very heavy, dark energy, a very debilitating energy. On the other hand, the blessing of that soul, the joyful transition is very, very helpful for that soul.
I mean, it's natural to grieve the loss of somebody because you're grieving the loss of that person in your life. So, you're going to miss that person being part of your life. So you need to grieve that for however long it takes you to grieve that. But to actually send them off with a joyful spirit. I mean, we did that with my mom. We had a mad Irish-Italian wake when she died. We did. We saw her off, man. We drank champagne and we set her off. And it was liberating because she was old and she was ready to go. It's not that easy when someone's younger and when it's sudden and
but even
when
that
it's
is
sore.
perfect.
But even that, we've got to see that's perfect because that's in that soul's blueprint. That soul contracted to leave on that day. Not the day before, not the day after, or not 10 years later. Whether that soul was 5 years old or 95 years old, that was in the plan. It's the same as your plan was to come in on that day. There's a plan for you to leave on a certain day. And there's nothing you can do to stop that.
And it's not in the hands of your ego. Don't think
No.
we're talking about you, the ego, you, the personality, you, the roles that you play. It's not in those hands. That you, as you know yourself, this John Homewood, is an experiencer of a journey that the real me mapped out long time ago. I am the I am the role that my soul has written. I'm not the creator of my life circumstances while I'm here, but I am the creator of my experience. That is in my hands. How I experience what I go through. Not that I'm able to control every bit of set of circumstances, but how I experience each and every day. That's 100% my creation, and that is a determinant in my future experiences and the future interactions that I will have in times to come, lifetimes to come. And if any of you are doubting what Michelle was saying there about your body, just think back to when you were 10 years old. Are you still wearing that same body, that same what I call a meat suit that you had on when you were 10 or 5 or 12? And no, the answer is no. That meat suit died a long time ago. It's gone. Not a single cell that you have today was alive 8 months ago. It's all dead. Every single one of those died. But you are still here. And the truth is, you're always here. You have always been here, and you will always be here. Because here and now is the only place that you can ever experience reality. Because here and now is who you really are. That's a deep teaching. But that's the truth. You are presence. And presence is quite often confused with what's occurring in the present moment. You're not occurring in the present moment. You are that which is witnessing that which is occurring in the present moment. You're the space into which your body comes and your body leaves. You're the space into which your relationships come and your relationships leave. You're the space into which your achievements and experiences all arise and every single one of them leaves. This too will pass. But that which is holding the space is eternal. And you are that. You are eternity. The you that looks through your eyes is it. And Jesus said, remove the log from your eye. We're so busy trying to fix the circumstances of our life that we forget that the most important part of this journey is our perception. And if we start to heal our perception, the world that we look at completely changes. And this life, instead of being a chore and a struggle, becomes a joyful dance. Moment to moment to moment, we celebrate the newness that's been presented us to in this moment. We celebrate that and we enjoy it with full deliciousness.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that perception, it's all about the perception. Because if you see a chaos cycle, for example, and they come to all of us, nobody gets away without a chaos cycle or two in their life. Sometimes more. So some souls have chosen in the soul state, not the person, not the human being, the soul state has chosen to come in and experience a lot of stuff because they're kind of they're balancing karma and they're doing all sorts of balancing in this life, getting rid of stuff that doesn't serve them. And you can see that when I look at a chart, you can see those people. Then there's other people that have come in, they've got a few little things, but generally it's kind of a rest life. But they've come in to deal with stuff. Everybody has, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So it's to see it as an opportunity and not a crisis. That's just a perception. Do I see this as a crisis, as a big huge mess that shouldn't have happened? I mean, check in with how you feel when you have that thought. This is a crisis that shouldn't have happened. And then check in when you have the thought of, no, this is an opportunity for me to actually get to another level of my consciousness. It's a completely different perspective of the same thing. But you're just standing looking at it from a different perspective. And so you're seeing it differently, and then it has a different result. And you respond to it differently. As opposed to resisting it and closing it and making it wrong and making yourself a victim of it, you go, this is what's happening. Clearly, if this is what's happening, then this is what's supposed to be happening. Otherwise, it wouldn't be happening. So how can I experience this with as much consciousness as I can in this moment? And what am I learning from it? What's the meaning of it for me?
And in that word crisis, I think it's the Chinese have two symbols for the word crisis, and it's danger and opportunity. Now we can choose to look at the danger and focus on that, or we can focus on the opportunity of this moment. And if we're 100% responsible for how we experience life, if we look at the danger, how are we going to experience life? If we look at the opportunity, how is our experience going to be? And I would rather have the experience of looking at the opportunity, because that is going to elevate my consciousness, elevate the experience. If I'm looking constantly at the danger and what's wrong with life, that's a dark and really a heavy experience to have. And would you, if you were completely sane, choose a dark, heavy experience? If you had the opportunity to experience a light, joyful experience? No. So the more sanity, the more sane you can believe. Yes, it is normal to be unconscious. It's normal to be mad, I think, on planet Earth. But we have the opportunity now, particularly those of you who are watching this, you have chosen consciousness. And as we awaken, yes, it isn't easy to awaken, that we have to give away and give up a lot of these old beliefs that we've been programmed, that we are so attached to. We have to release those and allow new maps of reality to come into our awareness. But it's worth that clearing out process, because you start to become master of your perception, you start to become master of your mind, you start to become master of your emotions, and your experience is your choosing rather than circumstances doing it to you. Instead of being a cork bobbing on the ocean, you realize you are the ocean. Big shift in awareness when you realize that.
Huge shift.
Yeah. So this year we have the opportunity for certain very special and sacred gifts. The one opportunity is to discover who you are and who you're not. Who you're not is, you're not the roles that you play, because they are uncertain and always changing. You're not your possessions, because they're uncertain and always changing. You're not even your beliefs, because they're uncertain and always changing. You're definitely not your body, because that's uncertain and always changing. But you are that which doesn't change. You are that. And when the world gets torn into chaos like this, you can find that which isn't being threatened. And that generally, in the analogy, if you think of that bicycle wheel spinning around, and the faster it goes, the more chaotic it gets on the circumference. But when you come into the hub of that wheel, right in the center, that's where you find peace and security and stillness. You are, in fact, always in the center. But your mind projects itself out into the drama, into the story of life. And the second gift of this year is to find that centeredness, to find that presence. That's your retreat, and that's your home. And with the chaos going on around you, if you think of a storm, a cyclone going on, in the center, there is a stillness. And if you start to live your life in the chaos from that stillness, you will first of all be a lighthouse for many others around you. But when times change and new opportunities come, you will enter those new opportunities with a greater sense of your own presence, a greater sense of beingness, and not so caught up in the drama of life. And that centeredness and that presence will initiate a new level of consciousness and intelligence within you, which will create a new world.
Yes. Yeah. So it is a huge opportunity, this. You can see it as a crisis, you can see it as a terrible thing, whatever it is that's happening in your life, or you can see it as an opportunity. And you know, usually when I see chaos cycles in somebody's natal chart, they'll say things like, my whole world's just gone upside down. Everything's just gone wrong. You know, it's like I lost my job, my wife left me, I lost all my money, and I got sick all on the same day. You kind of go, okay then, something's happening here, because it's all happening at the same time. It's a chaos cycle. And generally after that chaos cycle, that person comes out changed, fundamentally. I remember doing a chart reading for a client, and he said, he was one of those people who said everything. Because he sat down and said, oh, what's going on? And he said, well, everything. I've just lost everything. Everything's turned upside down. I cannot even tell you. Told me what had happened. And I said, well, you look good. And he said, I've never been better in my life. He said, I own nothing. I'm living in a room. He said, but I'm free. I'm free inside. Now, I'm not saying that has to happen to everybody, but his soul chose that as a journey that he needed to go through so that he could come through that and come out much, much more powerful than he was before, where he was attached to his achievements to make him feel whole, his money to make him feel good. And now he was just himself. He realized who he really was. And so his life shifted completely from that. So it's going to be different for everybody as to the level of that you have to go. But it's change is necessary, and that's why it's happening. So it's just to accept it, to say, this is happening because it's supposed to happen. And that changes the whole thing.
That tool of acceptance is a
huge.
powerful one when you're going through chaos.
Yeah.
The tool of acceptance. Non-resistance brings up anger and resentment and fear. Acceptance changes it all. And I'll vouch on that freedom, because when many years ago, 20 odd years ago, when I had 4 businesses that were all going insolvent, they went insolvent, and I lost my house, I lost everything. And I remember, I've spoken about this many times before, and I stood just outside and realizing that everything's gone. And the words of Chris Christopherson from me and Bob McGee came to me. Freedom is having nothing left to lose. And I felt this, just this magnificent freedom in that moment of having lost everything. So I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
And there's a wonderful teaching from a book called A Course in Miracles, right on the front page, in the middle, on the first chapter, in the middle of the chapter. It says, nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists, and therein lies the peace of God. Now, aren't we all searching for that peace that paths all human understanding, the peace of God? Aren't we searching for that? And it's to be found in the dissemination between the real and the unreal. And how we discern that is that the unreal is always changing. It's like blowing a smoke ring. It's there for a moment and then it's gone. But when you put your taproot into that which is never changing, which is being itself, which is presence itself, you are able to live in that place of peace. The peace that your soul has searched for so long, and it's right here in this moment. So shall we do a meditation just to center ourselves that we can take into the week?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Good.
All right, so let's just take a deep breath in and a releasing breath out. And make the in-breath now shorter than the out-breath. So breathe in for 4. And breathe out for 6 or 7. And just let the tension fall from your body. And take another nice deep breath in. And a releasing sigh out. Just sigh it all out. And then just allow yourself to be breathed. Allow life, this beautiful, amazing, incredible intelligence, to just breathe you. Notice how effortless that is. The in-breath comes in, expands us, and the out-breath goes out, releasing what's no longer necessary. And that carries on all through your life, every second. So just focusing on that breath. And this very breath is a tool that you can use to bring yourself into the center of the wheel, so you don't spin out on the circumference. So if the world around you is a turmoil and feels chaotic, at any moment you take 3 conscious breaths. 1 will do, but 3 is good. So 3 conscious breaths, and you come right back into this moment. You connect with your breath. You connect with the sounds that you can hear in your environment without judgment. Just noticing what you can hear through those amazing ears of yours. You can connect with what you can taste in your mouth, what you can smell, what you feel, what you see. This will bring you into the moment, into this moment. See if you can drop into this moment. Imagine that you were a pebble, and the pebble gets thrown gently into a pond, and the pebble drifts down slowly and softly, until it lands very gently on the sand at the bottom of the pond, completely still, complete peace. No matter what's going on around it, above it, just sitting there, peacefully being. Feel what it feels like to just drop into presence, to just be in this moment, right now, right here. Nowhere to go. Nothing to do, nothing to achieve, nothing to worry about. Feel what it feels like in your body to completely surrender to this moment. No resistance, just being here now. Notice how your body softens. Notice how any areas of tension start to dissolve and release. Notice how you might have a thought, but notice how you can just let the thought float by and bring yourself back. You can bring yourself back to the breath if you like. So this is a process that you can use throughout your day. When you feel yourself spinning out, the potential of spinning out, a couple of deep breaths and bringing yourself into this moment. Recenters yourself. And from this place, you can repeat an affirmation. In the center of life's storms, I stand secure. Just feel those words. In the center of life's storms, I stand secure. Feel what that feels like. And once more, in the center of life's storms, I stand secure. Deep breath in. And a lovely gentle breath out. Become aware of yourself sitting or lying down or wherever you are. Become aware of your body again. You might rub your fingers together. And when you're ready, if you like, we can't see you, you can open your eyes. Or you can just carry on drifting for a bit in the moment.
That was beautiful.
Good.
Very peaceful.
Good.
And I love that analogy of the pebble sinking. No matter how much the storm rages on the surface of the ocean, Deep in the ocean, there's always stillness. And if you can live from that stillness while the storm above you rages, you'll be a pillar of strength for the world around you. So before we lose connection here, let's just choose a card.
Before the electricity gets
Yeah, we have a whole
out.
pile of cards here. Do you want to choose tonight?
You can choose.
You want me to choose?
Yeah, you choose.
Okay, let me choose. All right, let's go this one. Okay. Oh, how about that? This card, it's the wrong way around, but there it is. I'll put it on our Facebook page and also on our WhatsApp group, Journeys of Awakening WhatsApp group. I am stillness, and I radiate peace into the world.
Yeah.
I am stillness, and I radiate peace into the world. There's no doing in radiation. The sun's not radiating heat to the earth. It just shines. So that's beautiful. I am stillness, and I radiate peace into the world. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Thanks, John.
I'll put it up on our Journeys site. You can have a look at it there. Thank you for being with us tonight. Sorry we're a bit earlier tonight, but we have dear old Eskom switching off the power in about a minute's time. So have a beautiful week, and we wish you well as you navigate your chaos, but you do it from your centeredness.
Thanks.
Good night. And if you enjoyed tonight, just leave us a comment, please. We really value your comments. Tell us where you're from, and you might like to share this with your friends. Give them a bit of centeredness in their chaos. Bless you all. We'll meet up with you next Sunday night again.
Thanks all.